How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that affirmed you as a woman, as equal to man and made in the image of God. A religion that acknowledged your menstrual cycle as a sacred part of creation, your body and sexuality blessed, and validated the feminine voice of God as the most highest, and the care and sustainability of natural resources and non-human life as the highest goal of mankind. How might your life have been different? Welcome to Heretica, her eco-feminist theology educational podcast. My name is Elena and I am the podcast creator. Dion Fortune, occult activist, mystic, and sex magic egalitarianism. Born Violet Mary Firth, 1890 to 1946, Dion Fortune was a British occultist, ceremonial magician, and writer. She co-founded the Fraternity of the Inner Light, an organization that promoted esoteric philosophies, many of which she claimed were taught to her by spiritual entities known as the Ascended Masters. Her teachings uniquely combine spirituality, social ethics, sexuality, and magic. The sacred nature of sexuality. Dion Fortune regarded sexual energy as a sacred and powerful life force with immense spiritual potential. At the core of her work was the belief that sexuality, when consciously directed and sublimated, could be used for both personal transformation and societal healing. She rejected the coital magic of Aleister Crowley, magic based on physical sexual acts, and instead taught sublimation, the redirection of sexual energy into spiritual power. For Fortune, orgasm was an earthing force that expelled energy, whereas true sexual magic required the raising and focusing of sexual force through ritual. This was not merely a technical distinction, but a deep ethical stance. She warned that misuse or premature experimentation could lead to psychological harm. Therefore, sexual magic was an advanced practice, reserved for those psychologically prepared. Fortune believed that natural, unfallen sexuality, free from repression and shame, was essential for spiritual growth and happiness. She challenged the taboos of her time, promoting a sacred, non-repressive view of sex, not as indulgence, but as a responsibility and tool for magic. Ritual as emotional and symbolic practice. Fortune's approach to ritual diverged sharply from rigid ceremonial traditions. She believed that rituals should evoke imagination, emotion, and inner experience, rather than follow fixed formulas. Her fictional novels modeled this, less as instructional manuals, more as vehicles for psychological transformation. Ritual for Fortune was flexible and ambiguous, designed for personal adaptation, grounded in symbolism and mood, not technicality, psychologically protective, avoiding harmful outcome from rigid practices. Finally, accessible, using imaginative engagement rather than elaborate exclusivity. This ambiguity also served as a shield against external criticism, as her teachings were hard to censor without explicit instructions. Sex magic and social responsibility. For Fortune, spiritual development involved social responsibility. She taught that sublimated sexual energy directed through ritual could help heal societal repression, ignorance, and discord. Her magic was not only about personal power, It was a form of occult activism. She insisted that sexuality should be seen as a moral and spiritual force, not a private indulgence. Conscious sexual magic, properly used, could uplift society, bring happiness, and contribute to collective evolution. Her teachings pushed back against conventional morality, what she called Mrs. Grundy, but did so carefully to avoid scandal and ensure that her ethical, accessible guidance could reach those who needed it most. Group rituals and the group soul. Fortune believed that group rituals amplified magical effects, especially when participants shared emotional focus. The group soul, a collective spiritual essence, could be harnessed for deeper transformation. However, she emphasized ethical balance. Rituals should empower all participants, avoiding vampiric dynamics where one drained another. Her group work was centered on reciprocity, respect, and shared responsibility. Egalitarianism and gender dynamics. Egalitarianism defined Fortune's occult philosophy. She sought to democratize spiritual knowledge, breaking from elitist traditions that restricted magic to hierarchies and secret initiates. As a woman leading a magical order, she modeled female authority in a male-dominated field. She carried not only spiritual leadership, but also practical and domestic responsibilities. In her teachings, male and female energies had to be consciously balanced. Energy exchange in magical partnerships required mutual empowerment. She rejected occult traditions that prized power without consent or ethical grounding. Dion Fortune versus Aleister Crowley. Fortune had a complex relationship with Aleister Crowley. She respected his magical knowledge, cited his works, and even visited him to discuss ideas. However, she rejected his public persona, the scandal-mongering, the shock tactics, and his willingness to defy social norms. Fortune believed that no occultist could flout societal conventions without consequence. She chose to work within social frameworks, offering practical ethical magic grounded in daily life. Even her fiction subtly reflected this. Her characters drank tea and ate scones between magical workings, symbolizing a grounded, integrated occultism, radical but responsible. How Dion Fortune referred to scones and tea. Dion Fortune often used references to scones and tea as symbolic of grounding, balance, and social normalcy within the context of esoteric or occult work. In her novels and writings, especially fiction like The Sea Priestess and The Goatfoot God, characters might pause for tea and scones between magical rituals or intense spiritual discussions. While this might seem like quaint British imagery on the surface, it carried deeper esoteric meaning in Fortune's worldview. For Fortune, scones and tea represented grounding the occult in everyday life. Magic was not meant to be detached from the ordinary rhythms of domestic life. Spiritual work happened alongside daily routines. Balancing the spiritual and the practical. Fortune believed that real magic involved discipline and integration, not escapism. Having tea symbolized staying rooted and sane amid metaphysical exploration. Rejecting sensationalism, unlike contemporaries such as Aleister Crowley, who embraced drama and excess. Fortune's magical path was modest, responsible, and socially integrated. Tea and scones were quiet protest against the performative aspects of occultism. In essence, tea and scones became a recurring metaphor in her worldview for the responsible, calm, and everyday practitioner of magic. One who could commune with spirits and still be polite to their neighbors. According to Dion Fortune, one cannot live on the astral plane all the time. One must come back and have tea and buns, or one ceases to be a functioning human being. So the key theme is, when it comes to sexuality, she considered it sacred, natural, and powerful. It must be sublimated, not repressed or indulged. Central to both personal transformation and social progress. When it came to ritual practice, she emphasized emotion, imagination, and flexibility, avoided rigid procedures to ensure psychological safety and personal relevance. Rituals were accessible, allowing diverse practitioners to engage meaningfully. When it came to group magic, group rituals utilized the group soul for heightened magical effect, required ethical frameworks to ensure collective balance and empowerment. When it came to social responsibility, esoteric knowledge must serve the greater good. Sexual and ritual magic were tools to heal repression and promote happiness. Fortune saw herself as an ethical teacher, navigating taboo with care. And when it came to egalitarian occultism, she opened spiritual teachings to the many, not the elite, championed female leadership and gender balance, rejected hierarchical, power-centric models in favor of collaboration and inclusion. So in conclusion, Dion Fortune's legacy lies in her pioneering blend of spirituality, sexuality, and social ethics. She grounded sexual magic in discipline, sublimation, and mutual respect, and framed occult practice as a path not only to personal enlightenment, but to social healing. In a time of repression and scandal, Fortune walked a careful line, challenging moral taboos without inciting moral panic, offering powerful teachings with humility, clarity, and deep responsibility. Her vision of esotericism remains strikingly modern, inclusive, ethical, and transformative, anchored in the belief that magic must serve both the individual soul and the collective good.
How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that affirmed you as a woman, as equal to man, and made in the image of God. How might your life have been different? Heretica, her eco-feminist theology educational podcast.